Hi, this is Anna Bevan Gravely with NCFREE, and I am joined by Judge Phil Berger Jr., who is running for Supreme Court in the fall. Judge Berger, thank you so much for joining us. What would you like to share with our members before we get started?
Well, Ms. Gravely, first of all, thank you for having me, and certainly thank you for your work to get all of the judicial candidates before the membership and NC-free. So I'm Phil Berger Jr. I'm a judge on the North Carolina Court of Appeals. I grew up here in North Carolina, in rural North Carolina in Rockingham County. Graduated from the public schools and then went to UNC Wilmington. From UNC Wilmington, I went to law school at Wake Forest and then joined the family business. I was in the family business with my father and my brother for about 7-8 years, and then ran for district attorney in Rockingham County. I served 2 terms as the elected DA there. Also served as president of the North Carolina Conference of District Attorneys in that during that time period. And then moved on to become an administrative law judge. Now, many of your viewers will know what that is, but a lot are going, what on earth is an administrative law judge? So those are judges that handle appeals involving state agencies. They're kind of quasi trial level judges, and also perform sort of an appellate function as well. But I served as an ALJ for about 2 years, and then was elected to the North Carolina Court of Appeals in 2016. So I've served about 4 years in that capacity, now running for the North Carolina Supreme Court. I've got a great family. I've got 2 great boys. One is a baseball player at William Peace University, the Peace Pacers. So keep an eye out for that up and coming baseball program. And then my other son is going to be a rising junior at the local high school here. He's a football and baseball player as well. So my wife's a teacher. We've been married for 24 years, and we've got 2 great dogs. You know, you follow me on social media. We've got a thing we do every Monday called Maple Monday, where we'll post a picture of our dog Maple, so that you can see how much she grows. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm sure there are other things that we can talk about, but I certainly appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. We'll just dive into the questions. Which one of the current or recent U.S. Supreme Court justices best reflects your judicial philosophy?
Well, I think of the current justices, certainly Justice Thomas is a conservative stalwart and someone that certainly I and others who are running this year on the Republican ticket look up to. But I think the one that most embodies my philosophy, and if I were to say that justice is the one that that I'm somewhat like and would emulate, would be Justice Alito. His jurisprudence on sort of free speech, First Amendment, Fourth Amendment jurisprudence is certainly in line with sort of where I think I fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So would you expand a little bit more on your particular judicial philosophy?
Sure. And this is an interesting question. Most people are readily will readily tell you what their judicial philosophy is. Right? I'm an originalist and a textualist. I look for the plain meaning of the language that the legislature used. If that language is unambiguous, right, it's clear, it's plain, then we apply the laws written. We don't substitute our judgment for that of the legislature, and we're not permitted to amend a statute or create a statute because we don't like the result that's coming out of the case. And really simply put, judges need to stay in their separation of powers lane and not legislate from the bench. And that answer, and I'm sure the other conservative candidates that you've heard have all probably given a very similar answer. And that is a big difference in the election this fall.
Yeah. Describe your personal opinion as to what the key principles of free enterprise are.
Well, Anna Bevan, certainly judges play an important role in our economy. Judges who are hostile to business and the market, right? They can threaten economic prosperity and economic liberty. So certainly freedom of contract is at the heart of free enterprise. It's something we talked about before we went live. Much like interpretive theory, right? Originalism versus living document. Much like the interpretive theories we just discussed, courts should enforce contracts as written and should not be in the business of Monday morning quarterbacking arm's length transaction between parties. People make bad bargains every day. But the fact that you don't like the outcome of your bargain, a deal that you struck, that shouldn't be the basis for judicial action. And so that's I think the hallmark of the free enterprise system. Also, property ownership and property rights. You know, Madison said you have a right in your property and a property in your rights. You've got the ability to do with your property as you wish. And to the extent that those rights are misappropriated or taken or somehow interfered with by either the government or a private entity, you have the ability to seek redress and be compensated. I think another sort of free market principle is competition, right? Competition is good, and the government, including the courts, should encourage competition, not be in the business of picking winners and losers. And that function, picking winners and losers, belongs, almost said exclusively, but belongs to the market, right? And to the consumer, market and the consumer. Another key principle, I think, is profits and wealth creation are good things. And just generally, judges shouldn't tilt the scales or rewrite contracts for parties to favor one side over the other. And the same is true for the other two branches. So in terms of free market principles, I think that's a language I speak. It's a language I'm very familiar with. I think I had some good teaching in that. And I think if you read some of my opinions, that free market philosophy sort of ties into originalism and textualism. And you can see that in my writing.
Yeah, awesome. What kind of jobs, interests, hobbies, activities did you take part in when you were in undergrad and then in law school?
Well, so at one point during undergrad, I played baseball, right? And my day during baseball was get up for 5 o'clock workouts, which, glad we don't have 5 o'clock workouts now. You can sleep in a little bit. And then went to class. And after class, we had practice. So, I mean, that's fairly standard for anybody who's involved in athletics. But I also took on a part-time job. So I played baseball, had school, and worked for a time. When I was at UNCW, I worked in the information center, right? So all the calls and all the questions about the university came in through me, and that was a fun experience. Perhaps one of the best jobs I've ever had was being in that little cubicle answering those questions, get to see everybody. But for the most of my college career, I worked and went to school. And certainly hobbies always involved athletics in some way, shape, or fashion.
Yeah. What about law school?
Law school, I studied. So it's law school is a different animal. And while I was in school, certainly most of my work went into studies. Jody and I had just gotten married, and she was working as a teacher. I was in law school, so I would go to school, come home, have my lunch, and then the rest of the day and night was studying. That was Monday through Friday, and you really don't appreciate the grind of law school until you get out of it. Like most things, you look back on it, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much I did, or I can't believe how difficult that was. And certainly law school was far different from undergrad, and what was a different experience, but one that I think I did well at. And certainly, one of the values to law school, I think you learn how to learn. You learn how to look at things a little bit differently, but you learn the discipline of preparation, right? And if you lack the discipline to prepare, I heard someone say this one time. It's just great. It applied to a different field, but if you lack the discipline to prepare, this community might not be for you, right? And lawyers have to understand and have to really be disciplined at what they do if they're going to have any sort of success, either in the courtroom or in a mediation. I mean, there's a level of preparation that you learn with law school that's invaluable, that really you don't get anywhere else. And that was, to me, the biggest benefit of law school was finding the discipline necessary to be successful.
Yeah, wow, thanks. What would you say is your greatest professional accomplishment in your legal career, and then your personal accomplishment?
Well, let's see. Give me just a second. I see my video froze up, so let's try again.
Gotcha.
Right, there we go. Let's see how that works. So biggest legal accomplishment is being a judge on the Court of Appeals. You know, I was essentially talked into running for this spot, and when I was elected district attorney, I got sworn in. Justice Newby came to Rockingham County and swore me in. As I was walking from my office to the swearing-in ceremony, someone, couldn't tell you who it was, but someone said, "Well, I guess your next stop is to be a judge." And I said, "No, absolutely not. I have no interest in being a judge." So this is not something that was ever planned or in the cards. Not something I really aspired to. I was happy being a prosecutor and happy being in private practice, but you know, doors open and things take place. And while you know, being a judge was not a goal of mine, I think the preparation that I've received, again, the discipline along the way, prepares you and gives you a certain amount of knowledge and wisdom that allows you to take certain steps. And certainly my career as a prosecutor, my career in private practice, certainly being a judge at an administrative law judge at the Office of Administrative Hearings, prepared me for this role. So I think legally, being a judge on the Court of Appeals is a tremendous accomplishment and something I'm very proud of. Personally, my kids, you know, I've got two great boys, and they really do, they're better than I ever was at everything. They're better students, they're better baseball players. I was probably a little bit better football player. Better baseball players, and certainly better people than I ever was.
Yeah, I would count that as a parent win. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a testament to their mom. No.
Awesome. So this next question is sort of my favorite question I get to ask you, and then all the other judicial candidates that I've had the privilege of speaking with. What do you consider to be the future of the judicial system? What changes would you advocate for, and why?
Well, so I want to talk about a couple of things, just in general, and then one thing specifically, because it's become somewhat of a hot button issue over the course of the last couple of weeks. First and foremost, my goal is to stem the tide of judicial activism, right? And sort of related to that is we've got to return to an era of judicial restraint. Courts need to stay in their lane. Judges need to understand their role, and hopefully that through my writing and through my work on the Supreme Court, we are able to do that. And when I say we, that's conservative judges across the state, that we can stem the tide of judicial activism. I think another goal that everyone should look to is expansion of the business courts. You know, we have a very good business court model, superior court level judges where those cases are appealed directly to the Supreme Court. Gives certainty, predictability, and a speed to business cases that are necessary. And I think if we can expand the business courts, you know, the nature of business now, the tentacles of government that run so deep now, business cases are more and more complex. And I think we need judges who have a particular bent in that area, who are able to handle those cases competently, efficiently. And, you know, so that's one. And certainly Wilmington, it would be a first stop for expansion. You know, we've got Greensboro, Charlotte, Raleigh, we've got some really great business, Winston-Salem, some others, but Wilmington, with the port down there at Morehead City, the port at Wilmington, there's some business going on in the southeastern portion of the state that could use a business court model down there. So that would be another goal. I think we need to implement a system of evaluating judges based on productivity, some sort of metrics and confidence level in decision making. Judges don't want to hear this. Judges would say this is absolutely wrong, but I promise you this is the truth. What we do is very much of a factory, right? Our job is to turn out opinions, turn out orders, and move cases through the system, right? At the base level, that's what it is. Now, we apply the law fairly and impartially, but there's also a system in place that has to move. Otherwise, we have backlogs and people don't get justice. So if we take that approach, that business approach, that this is about productivity, then certainly there should be some metrics in place to measure that. And then finally, one of the things that every year, at least twice a year, recent law school graduates get to experience is the bar exam, right? And that's been in the news recently with the virus, and there are a lot of individuals who are scheduled to take that test this week who have some real concerns about the administration of that test. I have sent a letter to the legislature asking that a study commission be formed to evaluate supervision of the North Carolina Board of Law Examiners to determine if there are any jurisdictional gaps in their supervision or the statutes that govern how they make rules. We've seen a situation where the examinees this time have essentially been told, look, from various people and various parties in the justice system, that they don't have any supervision or oversight of the Board of Law Examiners. So that's troubling, and it's something that I think needs to be done. And you're very familiar with some of the issues on barriers to entry, on professional licensure. And another thing I've asked is the bar exam an efficient and effective measure of competency to practice law? And if it is, then we should keep it. But if it's not, then we need to look at some other models to determine whether or not these law students who are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a legal education to get out and take an exam that may or may not be meaningless, right? Whether or not that's the best way to determine competency. Or is it an internship, right? Some sort of internship through your law school and through an approved attorney or judge that maybe can cut short the 3 years of legal education to where Elon's got a great model. They have basically a 2.5-year program where your final semester, or at least one of your final semesters, is an externship, right? So 2.5 years, save some money on your legal education, and you get some practical experience that will help you, and not only practical experience in the law, but practical experience in professional responsibility, ethics, those sorts of things. So again, I don't know that the bar exam is or is not an effective measure. I certainly have an opinion of it, but in terms of data to support whether it is, I think that's something that we need to look at. So that final sort of peg in what goals or what changes would you like to see to the legal system has to do with admission of new lawyers.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us. And it's great to chat with you. Before we close out, where can our members go to learn more about you? Sure.
So obviously on the internet, philbergerjr.org, philbergerjr.org is sort of the central hub. But if you're on Facebook, Phil for NC, Phil, P-H-I-L, F-O-R-N-C. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, Phil Berger Jr. And if you want the best Twitter account, right, that sort of nugget that you get all the inside baseball about what we're doing on the campaign, my Jeep has a Twitter account, right? It's the Justice Jeep. And you can follow us all across the state, right? We take pictures, silly pictures of the Jeep in front of historical landmarks and some of my favorite restaurants, so that we're traveling the state trying to talk with as many people as we can.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of the day and good luck on the campaign trail.
Well, Ms. Bradley, thank you for your time, and certainly thank you to NCFREE for all of your work.
Thanks.